This is what you get when you run for 30, I don't even know, 6 hours.
Oh, watch out, rock.
94 miles. And then you can't bend your knee, and you gotta quit when you're 95% of the way done, and you gotta walk back like this. No, it was a hell of a day.
Ooh!
I started running in college and slowly just built a passion for it, as well as for triathlon. It was just so exciting, addictive really, to keep going faster, further, to keep improving. I went from my first marathon to qualifying for and running the Boston Marathon.
Go! Hey!
From my first sprint triathlon to winning the same race 5 years later.
Nice job, Michael Connor.
All right, Michael Connor.
And onto several Ironman races.
Michael Connor, San Francisco, you are an Ironman.
Oh, Mike! Mike! You did it!
Michael Connor, San Francisco. You're an Ironman, Michael.
From the United States, welcome to the Jones family, Michael Connor. One of 33 Americans that have taken on the challenge with us today.
My days were filled with swimming, biking, and running. Most of all, I think I just loved the outdoorsmanship and exploration, getting out to see new, beautiful places. And of course the fun, just the raw fun of sharing those experiences with your best friends. One of the places I came to really know and love through all this was the Angeles National Forest, or the San Gabriel Mountains. They sit just outside of Los Angeles and, unknowingly to many, feature ski areas, 10,000-foot peaks, just true rugged mountain terrain. The Angeles Crest 100 is an ultramarathon. It starts in the small mountain town of Wrightwood, traverses up to the highest point of Mount Baden-Powell at 9,400 feet, continues along the Pacific Crest Trail, over peaks through valleys and canyons, then down the Front Range into the foothill town of Altadena. It's one of the original true mountain ultras, a demanding point-to-point 100-mile course with over 21,000 feet of climbing. Competitors have 33 hours to finish the race. I kind of had my eye on that race since I moved to Southern California in 2012, but it always just seemed like something not real or doable. But in 2015, I registered for the following year's race and went to work. I was training hard, putting in high mileage and running shorter races to prepare. In March 2016, I woke up one morning and felt a lump at the base of my neck. I was in medical school at the time, and I knew that probably wasn't good. A CT scan showed additional enlarged lymph nodes throughout my body, which was really pretty concerning for lymphoma. I didn't actually know what it was yet, but I decided no matter what it was probably a good reason to get busy living. I went out to Joshua Tree National Park with one of my closest friends, and we ran the 37-mile traverse through the park, setting a fastest known time, which has since been significantly beaten, but I'm pretty sure fastest known time with lymphoma is still my record. It was just so beautiful, and I remember thinking, I don't know what path my life is heading down, but today's path is the 37-mile California riding and hiking trail through a beautiful transcendental landscape, and it's perfect. When I got back, a PET scan and a biopsy confirmed I had Hodgkin lymphoma, which fortunately is very treatable, but it was going to require 6 months of chemotherapy, and I wanted to make sure to squeeze in a little more before starting. Justin and I ran a point-to-point 50K 3 days before I started. Chemo was challenging, but not as traumatic as often portrayed. It was kind of like being a little hungover and sick most of the time, gradually losing my hair and eyebrows. It did really start to wear on me, but there was plenty of running, adventuring, and fun. After chemo, the scans were negative, I was in my last year of medical school interviewing for residency, and matched into, as I had planned, ironically, a program to become an oncologist.
I'm going into radiation oncology at UC San Diego.
Life slowly got back to normal, and I was running, vacationing, just doing well. About 6 months after finishing treatment, I felt another lymph node at the base of my neck. A biopsy confirmed it was relapsed Hodgkin lymphoma. I worried that this time the treatment could be very toxic and the outcome less certain. I wasn't sure if or when the required ingredients to run 100 miles, the health, fitness, time, and motivation, would exist together in the future. But I still had those things then, so I set a plan into motion. I was woefully undertrained, but I did a few long runs at a slow run-hike 100-mile pace as proof of concept, and thought maybe I could pull it off. I assembled a selfless team of family and friends to help me along, and I set out to run the 100 miles of the Angeles Crest course unofficially over Memorial Day weekend 2017.
All right, at the start line with these fine gentlemen.
Witness.
As my friend Georges said the last time we ran an ultra, what the fuck are we doing?
Well, you're not at that point yet.
Okay, well, that was mile 1. 13 minutes. A lot of walking. So beautiful. All right, mile 6.6 on the truck trail. Some good views behind me. See the snow, there you go. Feeling okay. So about another 2 to 3 miles, I'll see my dad for the first time. Just taking it pretty easy. It's mile 33 of the Angeles Crest 100 course. I feel pretty good still. Mile 34, 35. Kind of feel the same that I did at mile like 8, so hopefully that just continues for a while.
It did not. After the sun set, I found myself at the mile 68 station, shivering in my dad's car, feeling the raw unfathomability of what still lay before me hit like a ton of bricks. I nearly quit, but hobbled on hoping to feel better once starting, which I did.
A little video. Mile 60, what do you think? 4? Had a pretty low point at 60. But once I got going again, it felt all right.
The second wind was relatively short-lived, and by mile 70 it was really just brisk hiking. My muscles couldn't handle running. It was just a death march. But it was steady, and I expected I could make it to the finish, albeit doing so under the traditional 33-hour limit of the official race was going to prove difficult. By mile 90, I had a debilitating sharp pain in my right knee and slowed considerably. As I toiled slowly towards mile 95, I was reduced to walking backwards in an attempt to avoid any knee flexion at all in the face of the excruciating pain. The 5 miles to go sounded like nothing, but the reality is that it probably would have required hours and hours of crawling. It just wasn't possible.
Mile 95, redefining the ultra shuffle.
Vertical videos are bad, okay? This is what you get when you run for 30, I don't even know, 6 hours.
Oh, watch out, rock.
94 miles. And then you can't bend your knee, and you gotta quit when you're 95% of the way done, and you gotta walk back like this at a 50-minute pace. So I don't recommend.
Is that the Mike Connor ultra not promise?
Yeah.
The don't ever do this?
No, it was a hell of a day.
Ooh, going sideways, all right.
I was carried the final 100 yards to our car as the gate to the road was closing. It was bittersweet, even disappointing, but after a little processing time, I made peace with it. I had spent the better part of 2 days in the mountains with my friends, my family, my health, in a dream that I knew I gave everything I had to, so there were certainly no regrets. I'll never forget the people who made it possible. My dad told me it was a crazy idea, so naturally he came down to crew and supervised the whole time, sleeping in his car overnight. Justin met me at mile 75 to pace after taking a red-eye back from his honeymoon and went straight to a shift in the emergency department after. Alex offered his entire weekend to help, despite the fact we'd met twice before. And another Alex responded to my long-winded email requesting and explaining my need for someone to run 30 miles with at night with a simple yes. After recovering from the 100-mile attempt, I graduated from medical school, traveled internationally, and began treatment with a well-tolerated targeted drug. Since I felt fine, I made certain to enjoy myself, including a run up to the 10,000-foot peak of Mount Baldy immediately after an infusion. In the 2 weeks prior to the main treatment, which was going to be a stem cell or bone marrow transplant, I crammed in about 130 miles of adventure running, including Mount Whitney, the highest peak in the continental United States, returning the favor and pacing Justin to a finish at the AC 100. And a serene trail marathon through the redwoods the day prior to going in for treatment. The idea behind an autologous stem cell transplant is you are your own donor. You need chemotherapy at doses that would otherwise be far too toxic, destroying your bone marrow and leaving you highly susceptible to fatal infections. So first, a small dose of chemotherapy as well as a special drug are given to stimulate release of immature bone marrow cells or stem cells into the blood, where they can be collected by a machine.
Here we are. Yeah, that's Mike's blood right there. He's there, but that's his blood.
High doses of chemotherapy are given over 1 to 2 weeks, and the previously collected stem cells are then infused to rescue and reconstitute the immune system. This procedure is effective, but involves a lengthy hospital stay, high acute toxicity, a possibly prolonged recovery, and some risk of serious or long-term side effects. The day they give you back your stem cells, they call it your second birthday. And they gave me this special cake that I think they've really perfected through patient feedback. Very mild, unsweetened, goes down easy when nausea and lack of appetite are a big problem.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mike. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
It was very difficult. I remember looking myself in the mirror of my room, skin and bones, and telling myself to remember how horrible I felt then, that I would make it, starting then from the bottom, back to health and across the Angeles Crest finish line someday, and how much of a high it would be compared to that low.
Mike out for a stroll. Watch out, Strava.
It was a dream, one that gave me optimism, had me rigging stationary bike setups, and kept me walking slow laps around the unit with my mask and IV pole. Recovery was in some ways very difficult, but in others it was miraculous. Biking turned into walking, turned into jogging, turned into running, turned into trail running. I ran a trail marathon on the 30th day after transplant, the first time you're allowed outside without the huge mask on. I was back, doing big runs, adventure runs, including the 42-mile High Sierra Ray Lakes Loop, and a 50K through the redwoods on Thanksgiving morning with my brother, a tradition that continues to this day. With the completion of radiation therapy to my neck for good measure, I was all done.
Today's your graduation. It's for a good cause. Give the bell a good ring and receive your applause.
Back to training, I hoped AC 100 was already within my reach, but I struggled with long-standing hip pain. Eventually, I was diagnosed with a labral tear and impingement, a condition that can be managed conservatively, but often requires arthroscopic surgery with a long recovery to fix. I was very hesitant to undertake another medical adventure and to put my new running life, which was so enjoyable, back on the shelf. It was sitting on a small peak in Death Valley, looking over the vast timelessness of that place, that I saw the virtue in patience, in taking a hit in the short term for long-term benefit.
It's rolling. Tell us the phrase, Mike.
What?
What was the phrase? The funny phrase you're supposed to remember.
It involves an elephant.
Okay, there we go.
Waiting room, maybe?
Michael's still recovering.
I underwent hip arthroscopy, somehow tolerating the 3+ months of no running afterwards. Then, went for my first run. The recovery would have prolonged ups and downs, but before long, I was registered for the 2019 Angeles Crest 100 and ready to train. With everything I had been through, there were bouts of injury and fatigue, but in the end I was able to build my mileage and my confidence that I could complete the race.
I feel like better at mile 17 today than I did at mile 13 yesterday.
Mountain guy, I stayed, and it's a small community. There are no McDonald's here. There isn't 4 gas stations, there's 4 pumps. Okay, they will remember.
I wonder, so we're at about 5,000 feet, yeah? Actually,
my,
I can tell you exactly.
My Snapchat.
What a world. What are your thoughts going into this race? What are you most excited for? Why'd you sign up for this race? Why are you doing this? You should probably know that.
Because I need to finish. Because I tried 2 years ago. And I got to mile 95.
What are you nervous about?
I'm afraid of the misery, but I did it before. And I went until they had to carry me off. So I think I can do it.
Is there a part of the course you're most excited about?
I'm excited for the Blue Ridge at sunrise. I think the beginning will be nice. I haven't done that time of day.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Plus, I think night running is actually kind of cool.
Especially by that point, you make it to the night and you know you're going to finish. It's going to be beautiful.
I'm excited for mile 45.
Yeah.
Get you. Mile 75. Karleen.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing this race under your own volition, or is it being forced upon you, Mike? Just need to make sure you have capacity to make this.
Should we hold up a newspaper? No, this is... It's August 2nd.
Any final words? What do you want to tell yourself when you watch this bay?
That it's going to be okay.
All right.
And that I want this.
Cool.
I'm Vincent, but it's actually going to be your family there.
Okay.
Because Alex and I are just going to Uber.
Shorts and shirt. Way too many extra socks, in fact. Standing in that starting corral, I thought of everything I had been through. I felt a lot of things: excitement, yet also fear, relief, yet also foreboding, desire, yet also gratitude for having made it that far. I promised myself I wouldn't stop, and in moments, the rest would be up to fate. The course winds out of town up to the Blue Ridge and Pacific Crest Trail as the sun rises. From here, one can glimpse the antennas on Mount Wilson as a speck on the horizon, representing the still far too distant thought that is Mile 75. I cruised along the first several miles feeling just fine, albeit very drowsy from lack of sleep, a problem enough caffeine would soon fix. Yeah. Maybe. Maybe.
No, we will. We will.
Gotta check the legs first.
I keep telling myself, it's all over. So, it's gonna get downhill eventually.
My crew handed me an alternate ice-soaked t-shirt at each aid station to help beat the heat. Combined with the extensive sauna training I had done, the daytime hours ticked by with everything going according to plan. By mile 30, though, I was having trouble breathing. Perhaps it was all the dust, but I was limited to rapid, shallow breaths, as any deeper inhalation elicited a coughing fit. At mile 45, my best friend Justin joined me, the first of 2 pacers allowed to accompany me through the race. It was much-needed company, and his reassurances were crucial as I continued to struggle with my breathing and worried this problem would eventually put an end to my race.
I think the way, if you stay on pace right now, like according to those median times or whatever, you'll get into Chantry between 1 and 2.
That's pretty good.
Totally. So I think that's
13 hours.
Exactly. So you just need to keep doing what you're doing, and you're gonna be just fine, man. So at the end of the day, when someone asks you, or when you ask yourself, did you run 100 miles? You're not gonna be like, well, did I get 30 hours or 31 hours? Doesn't mean anything. Like, yeah, I don't want to get you too confident, but I'm feeling pretty good about where you're at right now. Yeah. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, how sick is this? You're running like the Angeles National Forest, like the whole thing over the course of a weekend.
At the shortcut aid station, the same place it happened on my 95-mile attempt, I was greeted by a familiar sense of doom.
2 years ago, mile 60 was where lowest point.
Yeah.
A feeling I had come so far, but was still too far to go.
Your body's like, what are we doing? Like going forward, once you're like, okay, body, we're going through the night, and the body's like, all right, let's do this.
Mike, tell me again what you think of this.
I said it's fucked up and you shouldn't do it.
Do you recommend it?
No, not recommended.
No.
0 out of 4 doctors.
A friendly EMT offered an inhaler, which I promptly used and carried with me as I forced myself back onto the trail.
So what goes through your head at this moment in a race, Mike?
When I was sitting there, like, despair. Just like a hope that you can hold on.
Only one way to find out.
Thankfully, it seemed to work and I was feeling much better after just a few minutes. The effect seemed to wear off after a while, so I took 1 to 2 puffs at each aid station thereafter with good effect.
I don't know if it's just where you are right now, but your breathing sounds better. You're not coughing as much. You! Look at that fucking view! That's it, man. It's the front range and you're done. Woo!
Good. There's only 25 after that. 25 ago, I was at 30. That was like running on the highway.
Yeah. It'll feel different.
As day turned to night, the increased attention required to see the trail and the ever so slight fear of running in a wilderness at dark gave me an extra kick of energy.
Keep going.
Okay.
What mile are we at?
Tired but steady. 64.
All right.
Hit 2. The chantry and reboot again.
Go. Let's go up.
As we passed through Newcomb Saddle, the city lights below were a reminder of the awaiting comforts, but another 8 to 10 hours and a sleepless night still lay ahead.
Ooh, buddy. All right, Mike, what mile are we at? 72.2. 3 miles to go. The chantry. Mike's been crushing it. Gonna get in probably, yeah, 45 minutes, hour.
Chantry Flat, mile 75, is the regrouping point, the point of no return. Quit after here, and you're waiting at a remote trailhead until the end of the race to be evacuated. I took a longer break, eating and preparing for the final quarter of the course. Despite some pain in my toes, all systems were a go, and compared to my last attempt at this point, I felt better and had more time to spare. So as I picked up my girlfriend Karleen as my next pacer, our goal was simply relentless forward progress to secure a finish.
I'm still alive.
Sunrise was a pleasant change, but overall this part of the race was a grind and a blur. I was tired, I was in pain, mostly my toes, and I think I had simply steeled my mind against everything.
He tempts me to lie down and die.
Just moving forward, allowing suffering but trying not to think about it, and waiting patiently for its end. By mile 90, my big toes were somehow a horrible combination of both numb and excruciatingly painful. Since I was mostly hiking at this point, I even tried taking my shoes off to see if that would help. Needless to say, it did not.
It was good? Thanks. Oh yeah, I'm getting it too now.
I hobbled along, reaching the point of failure in my last attempt. I gave that fateful road I escaped walking backwards down a piece of my thoughts, and continued to the last aid station. I knew then that finishing was only a matter of time, and I fought back tears thinking of all the times that had seemed unachievable.
Would you recommend 100 miles?
Yes, wholeheartedly.
We have it documented, folks.
Through valleys of fallen trees, with rivers to cross too deep. In faith now I'm finding that I can make it. There is no doubt inside, I'm just in time, and I have survived.
Stoked. Enjoy this, man. This is what you earned.
At 11:29 a.m., after 30 hours and 29 minutes of brutal San Gabriel mountain terrain, and surrounded by my girlfriend, best friends, and family, my dream came true. I think the moral of my story can be summarized in a couple quotes by Gary Cantrell, aka Laz, of the Barkley and ultra running fame. He has said, "They have reached inside for that something we cannot know is there until we must call it forth. And you cannot accomplish anything without the risk of failure." It took me 4 years to reach this goal, but everything that got in the way just gave it more meaning. Mostly I just wanted to memorialize everything, but if I've inspired someone to get out there and try something new or daunting, or to not give up, then I've really accomplished something. You never know what you might be capable of until you try, and if you fail, it's just going to be that much sweeter the next time.